Broadcasting. All Noise Radio is an internet radio station that's fully produced by graduates of the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. From modern rock to old school hip hop, country to classical, talk, sports, and more. It's the noise you can't ignore. Log on to allnoiseradio.com. Fire up the station. Find out more about your favorite jocks. Get the latest CSP news and more. Plus, you can take All Noise Radio with you on the go for free. Just download the Live 365 app to your iPhone, iPod Touch, or BlackBerry and search All Noise Radio. Check out tomorrow's broadcasters today at allnoiseradio.com. Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Sit back down and shut your trap. It's time for
Keeping it sports with them three, right here on All Noise Radio.
Are you ready?
Well, I'll need some beer.
You have to ask me nicely.
Come on now, don't be bashful.
Place with the best sports talk and news surrounding each league.
I can prove it with my usual flawless logic. Hey man, this time they'll do it my way.
What's your name again?
And now, here's our host.
Coming to you from Cherry Hill, New Jersey. It's time for Keeping It Sports with M3, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everything's going well for you here on this Monday, the first day of July. What's going on out there? Everyone enjoying their summer? Everyone enjoying this insane heat wave we're going through right now? And when I say insane heat wave, I'm not just talking about the weather. I'm talking about what we've waited for months. That moment has finally arrived. No more speculation. No more wondering, oh, who's going where? What is happening? NBA free agency. And what always makes me laugh about NBA free agency is how magically the second that the clock hits go, in this case 6 o'clock last night, all of a sudden you see the likes of Adrian Wojnarowski or Mark Stein or Ramona Shelburne or endless reporters posting reports of signings that are made in the NBA, or at least agreements to signings, because as we all know, the NBA has that stupid moratorium in which the players can agree to a contract but can't actually sign anything until July 6th, this coming Saturday. So that always kind of makes me laugh, because wait, you're not supposed to actually talk to these players, but as we've come to know, as soon as the regular season is over, or as soon as a team's season is over, it seems like it's fair game and full court press mode to get these guys signed. And in past years, I really have not been too excited about NBA free agency, mainly because the team I root for, the Brooklyn Nets, team that I've been a diehard, passionate fan of for the last 18, 19 years, really started getting into them around the time they traded for Jason Kidd, hasn't been a big factor, because we know the deal with the Brooklyn Nets. We know what happened to them 6 years ago, June 28th, 2013, the day of the NBA draft. That dreadful, unfortunate night when Billy King essentially traded away the Nets' future for a quick fix. The trade with the Boston Celtics to acquire Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, amongst other players. Jason Terry was in there, and they traded away all of their draft picks for the upcoming future. Whether every other year the Celtics would get in their first round pick, or in the years that they did have a first round pick, they had the right to switch spots with them. And it put the Nets in hell. It put the Nets in a spot that no NBA team had ever been in, where they were bad and they had no draft picks. And we had to watch the Boston Celtics capitalize on that. Add in on the fact that you had two awful head coaches in Jason Kidd, who really didn't want to be here, just like his playing days, and Lionel Hollins, who couldn't coach his way out of a paper bag, piled on top of the fact that you had one of the dumbest general managers in the history of professional sports in Billy King. And it led to a spot that Sean Marks, our new general manager, and Kenny Atkinson had to dig themselves out of a hole. And they began digging themselves out of this hole slowly but surely by taking shots on players other teams gave up on, whether it be Spencer Dinwiddie, the Pistons cutting him loose, and any team could have had him. The Cavaliers cutting loose Joe Harris, any team could have had him. Selecting Karis LeVert late in the first round when many projected him to be a lottery pick, but because of injuries, he dropped to the later stages of the first round. Drafting Jared Allen 2 years ago. Making a trade in which they sent the franchise's all-time leading scorer, one of my personal favorites, Brook Lopez, to the Los Angeles Lakers, along with the first-round draft pick that would turn out to be Kyle Kuzma, for the contract of Timothy Mozgov and a young point guard in D'Angelo Russell, who had kind of worn out his welcome in the City of Angels. And they slowly but surely developed a team, developed a culture. And, last year you would have thought in the beginning, oh, this is going to be a tank season when they start off 8-18. But slowly but surely, they started winning games. They started 8-18 and finished 34-22. And that caught the eye of the rest of the league. So much so that players wanted to come here. That's why last night at 6:01 p.m. East Coast time, it became official what has been speculated for a long time. That is that not just Kyrie Irving, not just DeAndre Jordan, but one of the two biggest fish of this free agent cesspool, Kevin Durant, is coming to the Brooklyn Nets. Yeah, that's right. What was long laughed at, what was long thought as a joke. Oh, no one's going to go to the Brooklyn Nets, the little brother in town. Yeah, you may move them from East Rutherford, New Jersey to Newark, New Jersey to Brooklyn, but they're still the Nets. They're still second fiddle in the tri-state area. Well, not anymore, because they got the two guys that all year long, I had to hear from every Knicks fan that was either a Twitter troll or was counting their chickens before the eggs hatch, saying, oh, yeah, we're clearing up cap space. We're going to sign Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, and we're going to have the number one draft pick, Zion Williamson, to go along with that. Well, let's see. Last I checked, you didn't get the number one overall pick. You got pick number 3. Turned out to be R.J. Barrett. Could be a very nice player. Kyrie Irving moves to the tri-state area. He's from New Jersey originally, but he doesn't sign with the Knicks. And he convinces his buddy, Kevin Durant, who it's been speculated all year long that they wanted to play together, to not go to Madison Square Garden, but to go to what will now be known as the Mecca of the basketball universe, the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York, right there on Atlantic Avenue. Ha! Take that, Knicks fans. Yeah. Oh, it feels so fun to laugh in all the Knicks fans' faces today. Feels so fun to be happy about this. The little brother getting all the glory for a change. Now, let's be fair about this. Do these signings guarantee anything? Absolutely not. Are they a risk? Hell yeah. Because I have stated my piece about Kyrie Irving. I've stated how in a perfect world, I would have preferred to re-sign D'Angelo Russell. 4 years younger. Yes, he's not as talented as Kyrie Irving yet, but I don't think we've reached the ceiling with D'Angelo Russell. Plus, there's not injury concerns. There's not moodiness. There's not the chance that his entire team will hate him. And he, meaning Kyrie Irving, hadn't won anything as a lead guy, while D'Angelo Russell bought into this culture that the Nets have been building and was a product of the Sean Marks, Kenny Atkinson development era. But there is no doubt that bringing in Kyrie Irving makes a big splash for this Nets team. And you look at the Nets roster, Atkinson and Marks are smart about this. They realized that there was only so far that roster that they put together that went 42-40, went to the first round last year, lost in 5 games to the 76ers. There was only so far they could go. They had probably reached their ceiling. So as hard it is to say, you have to say goodbye to the likes of an Ed Davis, who got a 2-year contract from the Utah Jazz. Say goodbye to the likes of DeMarre Carroll, 2-year contract with the Spurs. Say goodbye in all likelihood to Jared Dudley. We'll see where he winds up. And say goodbye to D'Angelo Russell. Now, while they may not be here anymore, they're still part of the story. They're still part of what got the Nets here and helped develop us to this point. A point where they could sign all these free agents and not give up any of their young core. They were able to fit these guys in the cap and still have Karis LeVert, still have Joe Harris, still have Spencer Dinwiddie, still have Jared Allen, and still bring in other, key minor pieces, whether it be a Garrett Temple, whether it be a Taurean Prince, whether it be the fact that not just Kyrie Irving, but Kevin Durant took less than the max contract to be able to fit their buddy DeAndre Jordan in here. And let's face it, that's something that has to be talked about here, because think about it, DeAndre Jordan was traded to the New York Knicks in the middle of last season. So you figure, he's good buddies with them. That maybe gives the Knicks an edge in signing them, because as we see these days, guys want to play with their friends. They want to build these super teams with their buddies. But DeAndre Jordan went to the Knicks and he didn't get much playing time. He played second or third fiddle to all of the young kids, and that rubbed him the wrong way. So much so that he was probably telling this to Durant. He was probably telling this to Kyrie Irving, saying, this is not the place we want to go. If we want to team together in New York, there's a team that's building a winning atmosphere, a team that made the postseason, was a rags to riches team that surprised everybody and made the postseason at a 42-40 record, that plays in a beautiful building that's only 6-7 years old. Let's go to Brooklyn. Let's go to the Barclays Center. Let's make something special there. And they have the opportunity now to do something special, because a couple weeks ago, I was teetering back and forth about whether the Nets should do this. I explained with Kyrie Irving how I would have chosen D'Angelo Russell. Even with Irving being the better player, Russell was our guy. Russell was the guy we developed, and I didn't want to see someone else benefit off of that. And in the fact that Kevin Durant ruptured his Achilles and now won't be a factor for the entire 2019-2020 season. But when I stepped back and thought about it, I'm like, this is a chance that the Nets can take. They have their young core here, don't have to give up anybody. They got the cap space. The only players they would be losing are veteran players and, unfortunately, D'Angelo Russell. And when this is all said and done, if what the Nets have done here in the last about 24 hours, all these agreements, soon-to-be signings that they've made, if that leads to a championship in the long run, which is the goal here. The last year's group could only go so far. This team as they've put together now can contend for a championship. Probably not this year because Kevin Durant is not going to play this year, but can contend for a championship in the future. If they do that, while Dudley, Carroll, Davis, Russell, they're not here, they're still part of the story because they helped build the Nets to this point. They helped us along the way, helped get Karis LeVert start edging toward that all-star caliber level that you hope that he gets to. Help Spencer Dinwiddie build to the point where he got a nice 3-year contract extension. Same with Joe Harris. Jared Allen has to take a step back, will probably be the backup to DeAndre Jordan, but DeAndre Jordan provides a toughness that you were lacking in going up against the likes of a Joel Embiid in the postseason, and Allen can be the perfect complement to all of that. As I said, is it going to lead to a championship? Who knows? I hope so, but now you have a 4 to 5 year window here, and you didn't give up any of your young players. And even if this doesn't work out, you still have Karis LeVert, Spencer Dinwiddie, Joe Harris that you can build around. They'll still be in their 20s when these contracts are all said and done with. They won't be aging old men like it was when the Nets tried to take that risk back on June 28th, 2013. Take a deep breath, Nets fans. The 10 of us that there are out there, the 10 real Net fans. I'm not talking about all the frauds that have jumped on the bandwagon in the last 24 hours. I'm talking about the ones that have been through the hard times of after trading Jason Kidd, having a 12-win season, to then trading for Darren Williams, but he didn't really want to be here, making this trade with the Celtics and watching it fall apart after a year and only getting one playoff round victory against the Toronto Raptors out of it, and watching Paul Pierce and Sean Livingston leave for nothing, to them watching years of the Nets lose 60-plus games and not have their own draft pick to complement that in the lottery. We're finally out of this hell. We're finally out of this hole. And it's a good feeling today because now you can look across town, look at the Knicks fans who, as I said, for the last year, counted their chickens before their eggs hatched, and just say, ha, we got the guys that you wanted. Now, for the next 2 weeks, we can celebrate and show excitement and exuberance. But after that's up, after that's over, after all the press conferences are said and done, don't think about Kevin Durant now for the next year and a half. Yeah, he's under contract, but he's essentially not on this team until October of 2020. He's not going to play next year. I don't care what anyone says. This is going to take time. I don't want to see him rush back. I'd rather have him for the last 3 years of the contract than not have him at all by rushing him back. He hurts something else, and his Nets career is in shambles. But it's a good day. It's a day to have some fun. It's a day that, while nothing is guaranteed, it's a day as Net fans can celebrate. Because you've always been poked at, always been laughed at, said you're the little brother in town. Well, who's the little brother now? Because the guys that the Knicks fans wanted are going to be playing their games in the future seasons in the new mecca of New York basketball, the Barclays Center, right there on Atlantic Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. When it comes to the Knicks, there's a lot of things to talk about there. What they did, what they didn't do, the smart move that they were able to avoid. So I'm going to get to all of that. Give you some thoughts on other things that went on in free agency. Mixing a little thought with the Yankees London series this past weekend and the mess that the Mets have become, especially after their road trip and the fact that they're embarrassing themselves more off the field than they are on it. So plenty to talk about over the next 40 minutes or so. So sit back, relax, and enjoy Keeping It Sports with M3.
Shouldn't we be doing something we love? Call Connecticut School of Broadcasting at 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com. Since 1964, Connecticut School of Broadcasting, with a network of 12 campuses from Massachusetts to Miami, has helped place thousands of grads as DJs, sportscasters, entertainment reporters, behind the scenes in audio and video production, every aspect of the broadcast media. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has trained men and women of all ages and backgrounds in a matter of months, not years. Learn by doing from area radio and TV pros. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com. Remember, it's never too late to love what you do. Day and evening classes begin soon. Get trained. Get connected now.
Yeah, that's right. The Nets are back. Yeah. Long climb out of that ugly black hole that they were in, but great job by Sean Marks, Kenny Atkinson in doing that and getting the Nets relevant, putting them on the back page. Now, it's about winning. Next year, at minimum, second round, and winning 50-plus games within 3 years, there better be a parade right there on Atlantic Avenue celebrating the Nets winning an NBA championship. All right? As I said, we can have fun, we can enjoy this, and celebrate the next couple of weeks. But as soon as the press conference is done with, don't even think about Durant until 2020, 2021. He is a non-factor this coming year. At the same time, I will forever have a debt of gratitude to all those players I mentioned that are leaving the Nets via free agency. The Jared Dudleys, DeMar Carroll, Ed Davis, D'Angelo Russell, because the story of the Nets getting to this point and putting themselves in a spot of relevancy cannot be told or written without those guys' contributions. And, they all landed on their feet in good spots. Ed Davis going to the Utah Jazz and getting a 2-year, $10 million contract. DeMar Carroll, 2 years, $12 million with the Spurs. We'll see where Jared Dudley winds up, but the 4-year contract that D'Angelo Russell got for $117 million with Golden State Warriors, sign and trade there. Very happy for my guy with joining the Warriors. Kind of a weird fit there. Be honest with you about that, but hey, we'll see what happens in his future. And the fit there is instant one when it comes to the fact that Klay Thompson may not play all of next year, but after that, does he become trade bait and whatnot, and how does he adjust with being the off the ball guard with Steph Curry there? So we'll see what happens with Russ, with D'Angelo Russell out there in Golden State playing with the Warriors as they move into their new arena. Now, as I mentioned before, with the Knicks, this has got to be one of the darkest days in franchise history. Darker than, the day that they traded the rights to drafting Nene and trading Marcus Camby to get Antonio McDyess. Darker than when they lost in the second round to the Indiana Pacers, losing the finals, Game 7 to the Rockets, losing the NBA Finals in '99 to the Spurs. Seemingly getting nothing after that 54-win season with Carmelo Anthony and the crew, or Kristaps Porzingis tearing his ACL a year and a half ago, because they spent all the last 2 years clearing up this cap space, thinking that they were going to get Kevin Durant, thinking that they were going to bring a teammate with them, whether it be Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, or Kevin Durant and Kawhi Leonard. That was a rumor that was flying around there this weekend about Durant and Kawhi discussing playing together, and the two places they were talking about were either the LA Clippers or coming to Madison Square Garden to play for the Knicks. And the fact that they don't end up with any of the top free agents, not just that, but the two guys that they were targeting the most go about 20 minutes across town to the Brooklyn Nets. The team that's always been treated as their little brother has got to be a bitter pill to swallow. And shows you the Knicks, their organization, how they're always in spin mode. The fact that, an hour after free agency starts, after we know that Kyrie is going to the Nets, we know Kevin Durant is going to the Nets, Steve Mills puts out this statement that probably was written by James Dolan, saying how, we're disappointed about this, but we're going to keep building with the young core, keep building up with future assets to build toward our goal of winning a championship in the near future. Or how they're spewing out there amongst their minions in the media the fact that they didn't want to give Kevin Durant the max contract because they were worried about his medical reports, even though 2 weeks ago, there were reports saying, that they weren't concerned about the ruptures of Achilles. Yeah, they'll still give him the full 4-year max contract when he's a free agent, and bring whatever teammate along he wants to have alongside with him. They're willing to work on that. And then I see all of these Knicks fans, especially the ones that work in the media, and they know who they are, trying to go into spin mode, who were saying for the last weeks and months, KD and Kyrie, we're going to get the number 1 overall pick. When they didn't get the number 1 overall pick, they went to spin mode saying, RJ Barrett, he may have a higher upside than Zion Williamson. Zion may have been better than him at Duke, but RJ, once he's outside of the shadow of Zion, will see his true potential. Or now the fact that they don't get KD or Kyrie, it's turned into, you know what? He ruptured his Achilles, wasn't going to play for us this year anyway. What's the success rate of 31 going on 32 year old power forward who's damn near 7 feet tall, coming back from a ruptured Achilles? We'll just build around our young guys. Kyrie would have been nice, but he's got attitude problems, got knee issues. You hear that all coming out from these Knicks fans now. They wanting to spin cycle that. I wonder if they would have that same mindset if these guys did not go to the Brooklyn Nets. If, say, they would have went to the Clippers, or say they would have went to the Lakers, or went to, some of these other teams with cap space. Say Kyrie, there would have been enough room for him and KD to go to the Boston Celtics. Or if they decided to go to some middle market franchise. Or Kyrie followed Kawhi and they decided to go to the Clippers together, and Kevin Durant stayed in Golden State with the Warriors. Would there have been the same kind of spin cycle mode that there's been the fact that they went to the Brooklyn Nets? Kind of makes all these Knicks fans look like a bunch of hypocrites now. The fact that they have to settle for watching their team sign the likes of Taj Gibson and Portis and Wayne Ellington to 2-year contracts. Sign 24-year-old Julius Randle to a 3-year, $63 million contract. I knew the second that they didn't get the big free agents, that they weren't going to throw the money at, the secondary guys, the likes of Tobias Harris, the likes of a Jimmy Butler, weren't going to make those kind of mistakes because they couldn't settle. The best mode to go, if you weren't going to get either Kawhi or KD, you couldn't just turn this into the summer of Kemba Walker and DeMarcus Cousins to try and fix that. Because believe me, I was disappointed when the Nets didn't get any of the big free agents in the summer of 2010, and they tried to go on spin mode of that and through stupid contracts at players that were good players, but they were the middle of the pack, your rank and file guys, weren't the kind of guys that deserved that big money, and it turned out to burn them for a couple of years. So now this is the best mode to go for if you're a Knicks fan. Sign guys who are vets. A bunch of these guys are essentially the same position, stretch fours. Sign them to contracts where, the second year for the most part are player options. They're easily tradable contracts. You're not locking yourself into any contracts for guys that are in their mid to late 30s where you're paying them a ridiculous amount of money, and it doesn't block you from building around your core of young players. I'll tell you one thing Knicks fans have to be happy about, though. You guys see the contract that Kristaps Porzingis got from the Dallas Mavericks? 5 years, $158 million. Are you freaking kidding me? What has Kristaps Porzingis ever done to deserve that kind of contract? I mean, the guy has his moments where he shows you, wow, he can be a perennial all-star type player. But then he has his moments where for like 20 games, he disappears and he's just a middle-of-the-pack player. And into the fact that he's not played a full season in which he was not hurt. In his rookie year, he played 72 games. The second year, he played only 66 games. And then his third year, he played only 48 games before he tore his ACL. And that's the last we saw of him in a Knicks uniform. And we knew he was unhappy here. And he told the Knicks back in February that if you don't trade me, I'm going to sign the qualifying offer and become an unrestricted free agent the following year. I'm not going to sign the max contract with you. And let's face it, there were times he acted like kind of a jackass, whether it be not showing up to his end of year meeting with Phil Jackson. Say what you want about Phil Jackson's time here, but he should have shown up when his boss wanted to speak with him. Or last summer when it came to the fact that David Fizdale had to go out and see him in Latvia and wasn't told that meeting that he was in any contact with his now former head coach, I guess you want to call him that, even though he never actually played a game for him. So there's that positive if you're a Knicks fan. But if you're one of these Knicks fans who had your heart set on that potential big three, Zion, Kyrie, and KD, it's been a hard month and a half for you. You didn't get the first pick. You had to, adjust your mindset to R.J. Barrett, who I think is going to be a very good player, and deal with the fact that you didn't get any of the big free agents in free agency, and the two guys that you wanted went to the Brooklyn Nets. Ow, that has got to sting. That has got to hurt. My sympathies, really, my heart breaks for all of you Knicks fans. Got a lot left to talk about when it comes to NBA free agency. Get to that next. Continue keeping it sports with M3.
Broadcasting has helped place thousands of people, just like you, in exciting careers in radio, television, and the new media. At Connecticut School of Broadcasting, our hands-on approach is different. It's designed to have you spend less time in the classroom and more time in the studios. From the first day, you'll work with state-of-the-art equipment. Learn by doing from our team of industry professionals who come from their studios to ours. The best part about it, you'll learn it all in a matter of months, not years. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has a network of 12 campuses from Massachusetts to Miami. Remember, it's never too late to love what you do. So do what I did. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO. Step into the fast-paced world of the broadcast media. Day and evening classes begin soon. Connecticut School of Broadcasting. Get trained and get connected now. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com.
In case you're wondering, I am going to be playing that song every time I come back from break for the remainder of this podcast, because it's just a great day to be a Brooklyn Nets fan. I've been eating crow is eating crow the right term to use, or mocking Knicks fans? Not so much the Knicks fans like, say, my brother, who's been very modest and humble about the whole thing of his Knicks not getting any of these big free agents. But all the Twitter trolls out there, all of those in the media that thought it was a fait accompli and thought that, like, for example, my idol in this business, of course many of you will know, is the great Mike Francesa. And recently on his radio show on WFAN in New York, someone called into the program and brought up the idea of if KD and Kyrie want to build up their brand, go to New York, but why not go to Brooklyn rather than the Knicks, considering they're in a better situation to win right away? And he called that comical. He called that laughable. Well, hey, Mike, I love you, but who's laughing now? The Brooklyn Nets are laughing now. But hey, a lot more happened over this last 24 hours than just who the Nets got, who the Knicks had to settle for. So as we fully expected, the moment that clock hit 6 o'clock yesterday, there was going to be movement. There was going to be a lot of action when it comes to NBA free agency. And what we've all wanted all along is we wanted to get to a point where wasn't, who are the Golden State Warriors facing in the NBA Finals? We wanted to get to a point where you enter the season and everybody makes a guess on who's in the finals, but no one had a legitimate idea. You could look at it and say, wow, there's legitimately at least 10 teams that could win the finals this year. There are at least 5 or 6 teams from each conference that could say they have a shot at winning the championship, where it would be a dogfight. Where, especially you look out in the West right now, the only teams that you could say that don't have a shot at making the postseason this coming year are the Phoenix Suns and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Because unless I missed something, those teams have been pretty much shut out. I mean, the Suns, I know they made the signing for Ricky Rubio, but haven't done much. And the same goes for the Minnesota Timberwolves. They were rumored to want to do a sign and trade with the Brooklyn Nets to get D'Angelo Russell, but they've been pretty much shut out as well. And now you got Karl Anthony Towns probably looking around him saying, what the hell's going on here? What direction are we going? And is this somewhere I want to be long term? Another, star, and to a higher level star that is going to be thinking along those terms in the next year is, of course, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis Antetokounmpo, 1 year from now, can sign a supermax deal worth up to $253 million with the Milwaukee Bucks. And the Bucks, they're on the clock now to really prove to Giannis how committed they are to winning. They made a good first step yesterday in re-signing Chris Middleton, giving him a 4-year, $178 million contract, as well as giving my guy Brook Lopez a 4-year, $52 million contract. Thought there was a chance maybe he'd leave, get more elsewhere, but he obviously liked their good winning situation. So you look at re-signing Brook, re-signing Middleton. They gave Bledsoe that contract extension during the season. This team, they're in it to win it. They are, they fell short of expectations when they lost in 6 games to the Toronto Raptors in the Eastern Conference Finals after having the best record in the East last year. But they're doing everything they can to position themselves for another shot at doing that. The only thing I question with what they're doing is the fact that they were willing to do a signing trade with the Pacers and send Malcolm Brogdon to Indiana for a future first-round pick and 2 future second-round picks. And Brogdon was their guy. And I get small market, but were they that afraid of paying the luxury tax? I guess it's another example of in the NBA you can't pay everybody, but that one, excuse me, kind of caught me off guard there in making that move. But as I said, they're on the clock now. They have got to prove it to Giannis if they want to keep him long term, and he doesn't start demanding next summer to be traded and does sign that supermax with them. They got to show that this is the place to win with. And you look at the East, it's going to be wide open there, and contingent on what Kawhi does, whether he chooses to stay in Toronto or not. And you look all around. You look what Brooklyn did. You look what the Boston Celtics did and didn't do. They signed Kemba Walker to a 4-year max deal after a sign and trade with the Hornets. And the Hornets, this is your guy. How do you let him go? How do you not give him the max deal? If you're not going to pay Kemba, who are you ever going to pay anybody? Michael Jordan is showing once again he has, as great as he was, greatest of all time, he has no idea what he's doing as an owner in this league. And to not pay your best player, the face of your franchise, a guy that is so beloved in that community, a guy that loved that Charlotte, North Carolina area, and you just let him walk, and your answer to that is bringing in Terry Rozier. And I don't care what kind of assets you're getting back from the Celtics, still seems very short-sighted to me. But the Celtics, they bring in Kemba. They do take a big hit by not just losing Kyrie, but losing Al Horford and losing them to one of their in-conference competitors, a team that they're going to be competing and battling on that path to get to the NBA Finals. Al Horford signing last night with the 76ers, 4 years, $109 million. And yeah, he's 33 years old, but Horford is a winning type player. He's a guy that you can put at the 3 or 4 and you get quality. And he's one of those guys that, it really does not matter what he's doing in the regular season. In the postseason, he's going to show up and play big time for you. And he's a guy that is going to bring that heart, that grit, that toughness that the 76ers need, and provides an emergency for those nights when Joel Embiid's not going to be able to play because his knee is such a problem, or he's dealing with some kind of back problems there along the way. Sixers, they did show that they're not going to be willing to pay both Jimmy Butler and Tobias Harris, so they had to make a choice there, and their choice was locking up Tobias Harris 5 years, $180 million. Now, on the surface, all of us are going to look at that and say, wow, that contract is extreme for a guy, Tobias Harris, who's a good player, but is not an all-NBA player. It's not one of the elite players in the NBA. But sometimes if you want to get the guy that you love, that you want to truly keep, you got to overspend. We see that in every sport all the time. And if they weren't going to give it to Tobias, they were going to have to give it to Jimmy, because they weren't going to let both of them walk out the door. And this is very well played by Tobias Harris, because last year the Clippers offered him an $80 million contract extension. What does he do? He waits a year, gets traded, and he gets $100 million extra. So, good job for him there in getting the money with the Sixers. What I don't understand is, Jimmy Butler leaves the Sixers, but why the hell does he go to the Miami Heat? Because someone explain that move to me. I mean, what's so attractive about the Miami Heat? You got Hassan Whiteside on a contract that he clearly doesn't deserve. Goran Dragic is still there because they weren't able to do a sign and trade and send him to the Mavericks. They instead had to send the likes of Kelly Oubre and Derek Jones to the Mavericks to make this deal work, and send Josh Richardson to the 76ers. But why the hell did Butler choose to go to the Miami Heat? What, just because he likes the Miami lifestyle, wants a party there? I mean, we heard the speculation of him possibly going to the Rockets, and even though that would have been a nut house to have him, Harden, and Paul in the same building on the same team together, at least you got a better shot at winning in a wide open Western Conference rather than going to a Miami Heat team that's lucky if they're even in the playoff conversation. So I didn't quite get that move. I do like what the Utah Jazz are doing. Earlier this month, excuse me, I've had this ridiculous cough for the last 2 weeks. And I don't even feel sick. I have no idea what the hell is going on here. I'll hopefully get that checked out soon. But I do like what the Utah Jazz are doing. The fact that earlier last month, they trade for the contract of Mike Conley. You add him to that team, and now you bring in another former net, a guy that I really like, in Bojan Bogdanovic, a guy who can play the 3, play the 4, is one of the better outside shooters in this league. To add him to a team that was already a playoff team without them, and now you bring them in along with Ed Davis. Add that to Rudy Gobert. I mean, it's a team that right away can compete for a championship. A team that, you say, all right, they got a solid starting five. They did have to trade away some pieces along the way, but they've got their core, for the most part, locked up. Their core is, for the most part, signed through the next 3-4 years here. Have a very good coach in Quinn Snyder and a young developing star. I know what else could you ask for here with this team? And in a Western Conference right now, where you got the Lakers, they get Anthony Davis in a trade, but had to completely clear out that roster. Right now, it's just LeBron, Davis, and Kuzma, and you're looking around wondering what the hell are they going to do to fill out that roster. The Clippers, they were a playoff team last year, but they seemingly are waiting on their hands to bring back Kawhi Leonard, or bring in Kawhi Leonard, and have done nothing other than re-sign Patrick Beverley. You see the Rockets, their roster is pretty much the same. The Warriors have come back to the pack. The fact that they're not going to have Clay for most of next year, even after giving him the 5-year max as he recovers from ACL surgery. So, the Jazz can say, why not us? Why not? With Donovan Mitchell still ascending towards star level, with Rudy Gobert, a guy that can win Defensive Player every year, we bring in some smart veteran pieces here. Why not the Utah Jazz? Would it surprise you if the Utah Jazz are in the NBA Finals next year? And as I mentioned before, it would not surprise you if you had any situation, whether it be the Lakers, the Clippers, I think it would surprise us the Warriors, because the dynasty's pretty much over there. The Rockets, the Jazz. Would any of those 4 teams surprise you if they made it out of the East? The Portland Trailblazers, who I love what Dame Lillard did, signing a contract extension with the Portland Trailblazers, getting his money, damn near $200 million. And he's saying, you know what, this is where I want to be. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to move on from here. And let that be a lesson to Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi, you're choosing between the Raptors, Clippers, and Lakers. All right? Do not go to the Lakers. Do not try and stack the deck. Go to the Raptors or the Clippers. Right now, and I'm saying this as not just because for the sake of my team. I'm saying this for the sake of everyone in the league, every NBA fan in the league. Because right now, we look at this Lakers team, or we look at this league, and we say it is wide open. You look at the East, Boston, Toronto if they get Kawhi back, the 76ers, the Brooklyn Nets, the Indiana Pacers, when they get Victor Oladipo back in there. You look at the likes of the Lakers and Clippers in the West, the Trailblazers, the Rockets, the Warriors. It is wide open. There is no dominant alpha male super team in this league. And hopefully it stays that way. Hopefully Kawhi Leonard does not try to pull the most gutless move we've seen since KD going to the Warriors and chooses to go to a team that does not have that second and third alpha male superstar. Chooses to go to either the Clippers or stay with the Raptors and keep this competitive, balanced field that we now have in the NBA. All right, going to take one more break here, come back on the other side, close things up for Keeping Sports with M3.
Dick Robinson.
You know, the media business has changed a lot since we opened our doors in 1964. Now media content is everywhere. On air, online, on the go. More than ever, companies are looking for people to help drive this new media.
At Connecticut School of Broadcasting, you'll get hands-on training on the latest software and equipment in a matter of months, not years. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has placed thousands of grads in broadcast media careers.
It's all about versatility. You see, at a radio station, if you also know how to shoot, edit, and post videos, you become a pretty hot commodity. That's the training you get at Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Connecticut School of Broadcasting with locations up and down the East Coast from Massachusetts to Miami. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com. Connecticut School of Broadcasting, the nation's oldest and largest group of broadcast media schools. Redefining training in radio, TV, and new media. Get trained. Get connected. 1-800-TV-RADIO.
Yeah, the Nets are back. Yeah. I promise you, this is only going to go on for this week. This lack of humbleness, this over-the-top celebration. Next week, it'll be back to, a modest M3. But, I mean, the thing that's still so amazing about this is KD and Kyrie chose the Nets. They weren't forced to come here via trade like Jason Kidd was, or Darren Williams was, or Vince Carter, or Alonzo Mourning, who that Nets only made that move to assure Jason Kidd coming back. No, these guys wanted to come here for whatever reason may be. And when your team that has always been treated like the little brother has top free agents want to come to your team, it shows that A, the organization's doing something right, and B, as a fan, what is a small fan base for right now until all the frauds jump aboard, it makes you feel good. It makes you realize that, hey, we actually matter. I mean, I got the same feeling earlier in the NFL offseason when Le'Veon Bell, who could have gone anywhere, could have probably gone to maybe some better situations, chose to come to the New York Jets. I mean, yeah, it helps that they offered him the most money, but still, after sitting out a year, you wonder if he thought maybe I could go somewhere else and win right away. And he might do it with the Jets. And I look at the Jets and say there's no reason why they can't be a playoff team this year. But for one day, it feels good to be the little brother in town as far as sports are concerned. Now, that's not the case if you're a New York Mets fan. If you're a New York Mets fan, you're ticked off. You're pissed off after the road trip they just had. If you guys want to go check it out, I do another sports podcast. It's called M3's Opinion. You can find it online, anchor.fm/M3's Opinion. I did a podcast on Thursday afternoon called The Mets Road Trip from Hell. And that's what it clearly was. Going 3-8 on the road trip. When you look at it, legitimately, they could have gone 7-4. But they blow the last game in Chicago with the Javi Baez home run. They had a lead in every game against the Phillies, but their bullpen blew those. In one case, it was Steven Matz blowing that. And then you have Thursday afternoon's joke, in which you have Todd Frazier hit maybe the biggest home run of the season for the Mets. And it matters for absolutely nothing when Edwin Diaz comes in at the end of the game and gives up 5 runs within the snap of a finger, including a 2-run bomb to Michael Franco, who hit a home run in every game against the Mets. And the Mets are a joke. The Mets are an embarrassment. You realize they have the most blown saves in Major League Baseball at 21. Every time the bullpen comes in, they're just pouring gasoline on the fire. And make things even worse is the embarrassment they're doing off the field. Whether it be firing pitching coach Dave Island and making him the scapegoat of these problems a week and a half ago. Whether it be Jason Vargas trying to attack Tim Healy of the Daily News, or Newsday, excuse me. Or Mickey Callaway, snapping at Tim Healy as well. Or how about the fact that they wait until the point where Tom Seaver has dementia, has to retire from public life in general, to finally rename the street leading up to Citi Field as Seaver Way. They wait until he can't enjoy those good spots to announce that they're building a statue for him outside of Citi Field, when that should have been done 10 years ago. I mean, forget the Jackie Robinson Rotunda and treating Citi Field as an homage to Ebbets Field. You should have been celebrating your history years ago. And then the embarrassment of over the weekend that they were celebrating the 69 Mets 50-year anniversary, and they do one of those montages honoring players that were dead. Amongst that montage, they put in pitcher Jesse Hudson and utility player Jim Gosker. Problem is, both those men are still alive. You can't make it up if you're the Mets. You really cannot. The fact that everything they seemingly do on and off the field is stupid, from the owner hiring an agent to be their general manager, to that agent saying, come get us. He trades two of the best prospects in baseball for an aging Robinson Cano, who looks like he's completely off the juice now, and a closer in Edwin Diaz, who made history last year with 59 saves, but now can't pitch his way out of a paper bag, and provides them with no bullpen depth. He signs Justin Wilson, who never pitches, gives $30 million to Jeurys Familia when he could have signed Adam Ottavino. He could have signed Zach Britton, could have signed Joe Kelly, but no. He decides to bring back a guy that the Met fans know is a head case and can blow up with the best of them as far as relievers are concerned. He brings in Jet Lowry, who never plays, and trades two top of the line prospects for Robinson Cano's contract, and eats up most of that contract, and Cano looks done in the first year of the deal. And he's making the manager still bat him third. I mean, the Mets, they just don't make sense. And on top of that, outside of their ace, Jacob deGrom, and surprisingly, the number 5 starter, Jason Vargas, who the entire organization hates for his actions the last 10 days, their 2, 3, and 4 starters are not living up to the bill, and they have no pitching depth behind them. They're having to start the likes of Walter Lockett and Wilmer Font if somebody gets injured. It's just all the way around. It's a joke with this Mets team. And we sit here on this Monday afternoon, the first day of July, and they're dead and buried. They're 12 games back in the division. They're 9 games under 500, and there's no pleasant things in sight when it comes to the New York Mets. And you talk about another joke. Listen, I'm happy that the Yankees won 2 games over the weekend against the Boston Red Sox. But what an embarrassment that is, that series out in London. First off, they had to turn a cricket field or a stadium that was used for the Olympics into a baseball stadium. And they can't even build full baseball dimensions. I mean, it's $330 to each foul pole, but $385 to dead center field? And you're lucky that these guys didn't hit more home runs in this series. And the fact that there were 50 runs scored combined between the Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees. 50. 30 on Saturday, another 20 yesterday. It's ridiculous. And you can't tell me that both teams putting up a 6 spot in the first inning is good for a sport, or the Yankees putting up a 9 spot in the 7th inning yesterday is good. And listen, I know the Red Sox bullpen's bad. They've have 17 blown saves on the season, but they're not that awful where they should be giving up a 9 spot and having 3 different pitchers pitch in that game. And the fact that Tanaka couldn't get through the first inning on Saturday, just an outright joke. And they should cancel Cubs-Cardinals there next year right now. Because instead of trying to grow the game abroad, why don't you concentrate on the issues you have here? The issues, the fact that everybody believes the ball is juiced. Or the issues that you have when it comes to teams tanking. Why don't you work on those issues? Wonder what's going on as far as the uptick in home runs and the uptick in strikeouts, rather than trying to put the game in these other countries where, yeah, I know they filled up the stadium, but you ask the common person out there, they still have no idea what baseball is in London. They're more concerned on what time cricket, or as they call soccer out there, football is going to start that day. And I just did not understand that. And you're going to take regular season games. I'm not going to shed a tear for 2 less games taking place for the Red Sox outside of Fenway Park. But regular season games are going to do this. This should have been done in spring training if you're going to do this. Not during the regular season. Not for games that count. And allow them to have a 26th man on each roster. Absolutely ridiculous. Well, at least I got the Nets to celebrate. At least I got that to be happy about. As, you know, the Yankees got a day off. The Jets haven't started their season. The Devils are in their off season. So, I'm going to take this time to tell you that, my friends, was Keeping It Sports with M3 for Monday, July 1st, 2019. Every Net fan out there, have a great night. Enjoy life. Celebrate this one. And I'll talk to you guys again, same time next week. Peace.